All right, let's talk about Athens. We're going to dive into the story of a single city that, you could argue, pretty much invented the world as we know it. We're talking everything from philosophy to politics. This is the incredible story of Athens.
So that begs a massive question, right? How did this one city manage to rise up and shape the very foundations of our modern world? Well, together we're going to break down exactly how it all happened.
You know, our story doesn't start with a golden age full of marble temples. Nope, it begins with a long, slow climb from just a simple settlement into an absolute powerhouse of ideas. Athens' story is really one of incredible resilience. I mean, think about it. While other great Mycenaean centers were literally turning to dust during the Bronze Age collapse, Athens just held on. It survived. It made it through what historians call the Dark Ages and came out the other side ready to build something entirely new. But this new beginning, it wasn't exactly a fresh start for everybody. After the Age of Kings ended, power didn't really spread out. It just shifted, concentrating into the hands of a few super powerful aristocratic families. This system has a name. It's called an oligarchy. And as you can probably imagine, when a tiny, wealthy elite has all the power, it tends to create a lot of resentment among everyone else who's completely shut out of the loop. So the pressure for change started to build little by little. First, a guy named Draco actually wrote down the laws. Now, this was a huge deal. It meant the rules were public, not just secrets held by the elite, even if those laws were famously harsh. Then came Solon, who brought in massive reforms, like getting rid of debt slavery, which was a revolutionary idea back then. It wasn't a straight line to progress for sure, but each of these steps chipped away at that old system, paving the way for something totally different. And then we get to this year, 508 BC. This is the moment everything changes, all thanks to a statesman named Cleisthenes. So what did Cleisthenes do that was so mind-blowing? He basically redrew the entire political map. He completely broke the power of the old noble families by mixing everyone up into new tribes. It wasn't about who your ancestors were anymore. It was about where you lived. It was like reshuffling the deck to make sure everybody got a voice. And this simple change, along with a new council of 500 citizens, created the world's very first democracy. And this new democracy, well, it unleashed an era of brilliance that was just unparalleled. But as we're about to see, the golden age of Athens also cast a very, very long shadow. After miraculously defeating the gigantic Persian Empire, not once, but twice, Athens was completely transformed. It became the undisputed leader of the Greek world, pulling together a huge coalition of city-states. And this leadership led to an absolute explosion of culture. Under the statesman Pericles, the Parthenon rose on the Acropolis. Philosophers like Socrates and Plato started questioning everything. It was just this incredible period of intellectual and artistic energy. But all that power created a rival. Athens' alliance had basically become an Athenian empire that controlled the seas. And this put them on a direct collision course with the other great power in Greece, the land-based military might of Sparta and its own alliance. The result was a brutal 27-year-long war. This conflict between Athens and Sparta just tore Greece apart, and in the end, it completely shattered Athens' empire, bringing its golden age to a screeching halt. Athens would never get its political power back, but its story was far from over. What came next was a long, long period where the city was honored for its past, but controlled by a series of new masters. After its defeat, Athens lost its independence for almost 2,000 years. Just look at this timeline of who was in charge. First, the Macedonians, then the Romans, after them the Byzantines, and finally, the Ottomans. For centuries, the city that birthed democracy was ruled by empires. And you can actually see the story of this long conquest in the fate of its most famous building, the Parthenon. It basically became a mirror, reflecting what was happening to the city itself. The history of this one building is just staggering. Each new conqueror changed it to fit their own needs. It started as a temple to the goddess Athena. Then it was converted into a Christian church. After that, an Islamic mosque. And its final, fateful purpose? An Ottoman military gunpowder store. And you can guess what happened next. That decision had catastrophic consequences. During a siege in 1687, a Venetian mortar shell slammed into the building, igniting all that gunpowder inside.
The explosion was immense. It destroyed the roof and so much of the structure, leaving the iconic ruin that we all recognize today.
But here's the thing. Empires fall. Buildings crumble. The final part of our story is about the one part of Athens that could never, ever be destroyed. Its ideas.
After nearly 400 years under Ottoman rule, the Greek spirit was rekindled. After a long war of independence, Athens was chosen as the capital of a new free Greece. And in a hugely symbolic moment, it came full circle, hosting the very first modern Olympic Games in 1896.
So let's just recap for a second. For thousands of years, the physical city of Athens was passed from one conqueror to the next. Its political power, its military might, it was all gone, utterly extinguished.
And yet, the concepts that were born in that city, democracy, philosophy, logic, theater, history, they didn't just survive. They spread like wildfire. They became the foundational pillars of Western civilization and eventually the entire modern world.
And that brings us to a final, really powerful question to think about. We remember Athens for its famous military victories. But what if its true, lasting victory wasn't won on a battlefield with spears and shields at all? What if it was won in the realm of the mind? A victory of ideas that continues to shape our world right here, right now.